Suzanne Barron here, founder of Christ the True Light. It's time for a different approach. I'm just going to pause on the other things I'm doing for right now because it's time for a different approach. What I want to do is I want to read to you Bridging the Gap by GmB Bailey. I want to read it to the public. The description of this book is Bridging the Gap is a disturbing yet poignant look into modern day democratic surveillance societies. The book examines how this structure is used to discredit, disenfranchise, and destroy innocent civilians. Gangstalking, the buzzsaw, COINTELPRO. What do these words mean? And more importantly, what do they have in common? They are names that have been used to describe the systematic apparatus that reaches out to destroy and discredit those alarmed, discredit those declared enemy by the state. This book will open your eyes to how informant systems has taken over these democratic countries and how they are being used to further create a surveillance society where no one will be out of reach. Should they too become persona non grata by the system. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm disproving this through scripture. This is probably going to be very hard, but I've got to draw your attention to my website somehow. I'm working, just doing everything I can. If you go to my website, it's called ChristTheTrueLight.com, and you go to the top, ChristTheTrueLight.com. You go to the top where it says blogs. All right, you hit blog. You scroll down to where it says technology. You hit technology. This will take you to the technology page. Then you scroll down to demonic influences, which is the one right there with the guy. All right. Demonic influences, AI, advanced technologies. And you hit that link. Read that. Okay. Because I discredit her. But if you go right there, you can download the book completely for free. All right. It's about 117 pages, I believe. I believe it's what it is. I'm just going to give 30 minutes. Okay, so the introduction goes like this. Bridging the Gap is a disturbing yet poignant look into modern day democratic surveillance societies. The book examines how this structure is used to discredit, disenfranchise, and destroy innocent civilians. Gangstalking, the buzzsaw, COINTELPRO. What do these words mean? And more importantly, what do they have in common? They are names that have been used to describe the systematic apparatus that reaches out to destroy and discredit those declared enemy by the state. So it's basically like targeted individuals. It's basically stating that these surveillance companies like FBI, CIA, they have targeted innocent civilians, like Suzanne Barron, for instance. I once believed this. Paranoia, schizophrenia. I once believed this in my life, that the government has put me on a hit list and they're doing nothing but harassing me. It's not the case. And I have said this about this GmB Bailey. Yeah, in the book, this person says that they once suffered. Like I admit I once suffered. But they have found freedom from their suffering. Well, why did the government let you go? Why did the government let me go? Because it wasn't the government. It literally was Satan. It was a spiritual attack. The symptoms that people experience were around in ancient civilization. They didn't have technology back then. What those people in ancient civilizations experienced with the stalking, harassment, this, that, and the other, they didn't have technology back then. Like the harassing, the stalking, even David prayed like people were. They say David was depressed, King David. But he felt like everyone was after him. It's the same thing. Ancient civilization experienced what is now defined as schizophrenic, and now we are actually believing this is a very popular book. Bridging the Gap by GmB Bailey. Let me tell you how many she sold. She. I can't get a figure on how many books it's actually sold. But on Goodreads.com, this author has written quite a bit, actually. Okay, and they're basically all about harassment. Okay, now I'm not saying that the experience that this author had is not real. I'm saying that the experience is real, but that's the lie that Satan wants us to believe. He wants us to believe this. This is going to be kind of difficult for me, I'm pretty sure, but I've got to take a different approach. So I'm just gonna give it a shot. All right. This book will open your eyes to how the informant system has taken over these democratic countries and how they are being used to further create a surveillance society where no one will be out of reach should they too become persona non grata by the system. Now, AI is what's going, this AI, when AI uh sentient, or like when AI will be the one that does this. It's like a prophetic gift that these people have. It's like warnings to the future, but Satan has twisted it. If you read that demonic influence, I pull a lot more evidence and I confirm these things. Like schizophrenic patients have been experiencing this for like 100 years. And then now all of a sudden this stuff has come out, and now we're believing it's targeted individuals and we're blaming the government for it. Why? So that we can tear the government down, so that our complaints will literally tear the government down, because people actually believe this. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. They're taking the government to court for this stuff. Well, why would Satan do that? So that AI can take over. That will be when AI does take over and become our government. She's already in the government system. When she fully takes over, that's what's going to be the surveillance society. I'm not discrediting the symptoms. I'm discrediting the facts. I see spiritual stuff in this. Spiritual warnings to a future. The book is I'm not a good speaker. Culmination. The book is in the culmination of 2 years of research and investigation. It's a very brief introduction to the subject matter of gang stalking. Gang stalking. Okay? She talks about mobbing in the workforce. The idea of mobbing in the workforce is like the same thing as gang stalking. But we'll get there. It's a factual account of what gang stalking is and the societal mechanisms that are in existence, which allow such a structure to exist. The research has taken many hours to compile and shift through. The book just touches the surface on a very difficult and disturbing topic. The first portion of this book will explain what gang stalking is. It just happens to be a systematic structure of control and conformity that is used to destroy, do you hear this? Destroy the lives of those who go outside of these structures. All right. The next portion of the book tries to help the reader to understand why people take part in something that is destructive and psychologically destroying to another person. The door is here, okay? That's what Satan wants to do. He wants to tear you down here. All right. Then we will look at the informant structure, which is being used in society today. The informant structure, which is responsible for a great deal of crime and corruption, but which is also being used to fuel a surveillance society that has previously been almost unheard of in modern times. We will see how a system of setups and betrayals fuel the informant system, and you will begin to understand how far-reaching and controlling these systems can be. We will also travel through recent history and review conspiracies and other systems that also allow these destructive investigations to take place and destroy the lives of others. You will learn that there are those in our society that do not play by the same rules as others do. Their goals are to entrap and destroy the life of the next target, and to, in turn that target into a person that is capable of then becoming a part of the same gang that was used to destroy them. Lastly, we will review what's he saying here? Saying that you're suffering, okay? That's what I talk about with the enlightened mind from that light of darkness. You're suffering, you're suffering, you're suffering. And the evil system will break you down and like morph you into being like an evil person, okay? And that you will turn around and do the same thing to others because you found freedom from your suffering and it has made you an evil person. Okay, that's basically what she's saying here. But that is what Satan will do. He will tear you down, and he will give you that little piece of break, that enlightenment of darkness, where you can let you go. Well, then he will use you for his purpose. There are people in the world. This person has found freedom. And the reason why is because Satan is using this person to spread this lie. But there are people out there that do speak to Satan and they know that they're speaking to Satan. They know it. They have been released from their suffering. Your satanic worshipers and stuff. I spoke to Satan. No, I didn't speak. I'm sorry, correct myself. I did speak to the voices though. But I saw Satan stand at the foot of my boyfriend's bed. And I could have spoken to him. I could have responded, right? I could have. Like, hi, Satan. It's getting confusing, but people do. They find like these occults and they do all these enchantments and like calling on the spirits and stuff like that. And they're in communication with a darkness. I'm in communication with a light, an enlightenment. But they will speak to it. That's what's happening here. Lastly, I'm going to do my best to pull the scripture, okay? Because this is a lie. This is a lie. This person has found freedom because of the lie. I'll let you go, Satan will let this person go so that they can tell this lie to the public, so that you will believe this lie. Why? Because this lie will break down the government system. Romans 13 says we have no reason to fear the authorities. I mean, I know our government's, we do have a convicted felon for the president right now, but people are not doing this. Let me read this last chapter and then tell you exactly what they're thinking is happening. Lastly, paragraph. Lastly, I get excited. Okay, I'm sorry. We will review the final pieces of the puzzle that fuel the system and helps it to continue to stay in place. We will also briefly review what can be done to help curtail what is happening to so many in society. That's the end of the introduction. What the world is thinking, what these people who are considered targeted individuals and believe that they are being gang stalked by the FBI, by government, or people, societies, that the cops are grouped together, that the entire town is gang stalking them. What they believe is that they are grouping together. The FBI is monitoring their entire life. And like she talks about they do hand signs and they follow you all over the place. And they watch you from computer screens, and that technology is being used. Your eyes can like just all kinds of crazy stuff. They'll use stimuli to like even talks about the color red. Okay, so that it becomes like a suffering that's um subconscious level, when the stalkers will do something to harass you and they'll always wear red, always wear red, always wear red. So that way when you go to Walmart and you see a lady that's not stalking you at all, but she's wearing the color red, you are going to automatically assume that's one of your stalkers. So it amplifies the suffering. That's sensitization methods. That people, groups of people, are actually doing this to millions of people across the world. It's not happening. It is what Satan is doing. He has that control, okay? I have sat on my property, and I've lived on my property, okay? I believe that the neighbors were being stalking me, that they were harassing me and tracking me. I would get a phone call from every single one of them. They all had different reasons to call, but each one of them would ask me one single question. When are you going to be home? That made me feel like they're watching me. I would stand in my yard, and like 6 different people would pull into the yard at one time. And I felt like they were harassing me. But those things actually happen. Once or twice is a coincidence. But it keeps happening. That gives you that paranoia. You can't, if that kind of stuff happens to any person, that kind of call every day, you're all calling me every day. You have different reasons to call, but every one of you wants to know when I'm going to be home. That puts fear in you. Now, how is that happening? Well, the neighbors are living in sin. They're bad people. They're drug addicts. They're just bad. It talks about the evil system. You can't tell a person, but it talks about their evil beliefs. They're evil people. They rob folks, steal from people all the time. So Satan's got them, and he's driving them, and that's how it happens. That is exactly how it happens. He can maneuver them to pull into your yard all at one time. That is called a miracle. I mean, he can do that. God into scripture lined it up. Peter, he had a vision. God lined it up for 3 people to come meet him. God can do that in scripture. Satan can do that today. It causes that paranoia. It looks so real. You will not convince anybody going through it that it's not real. It looks and feels so real. But those people who pulled into my yard, I'm telling you, they were just there. Satan maneuvered that, and they had no idea why they were there. It was a coincidence to them. And it was. They just called me for whatever reasons. I'm telling you, they really did just call me. Whatever the reason was, they called me for. That's their thought process. That's what they're calling me for. They had no knowledge that Satan had already had 3 other people call me. That driving, controlling force, that man of sin. Do you believe that the spirits are active in this world or not? Because that's really what it's going to take. It's going to take you to have an open mind to understand that the spirits are active. And it is pushing millions of people to suicide. Millions of people to suicide. This book is a lie from Satan, not this person. This person is trying to help you. This person believes the things that this book says. So do those people who experience it. But I'm telling you, it's deception. It is deception. Because it's Satan, and that's what he wants you to see. Chapter 1. I'll just do one at a time.